This is a white pine tree that's going to be trimmed at Highland Hill Farm, and this is Michael Hurst. He does the trimming. Tell us about this tree and what you're going to do to it and why you're doing it.
Okay, well the first thing is first, is this tree had something really bad happen to it. And most likely happens a lot of times, but right here, there was a single shoot borer that fell off, killed it, attacked it last year. And then when we pruned it, we just pruned it to round the top off. But now, this is the important year for pruning of the tree. This is the year that we're going to determine which is the leader to it. And you see there's no one defined leader, but there's one that's fairly close. Sometimes it's nice. This is a good example of one that has one that's going to be really easy for me to do. And there's some of them are going to be a little bit more difficult. But the first thing we're going to do, this is a pine tree. This is the right time of year to prune it. If you're pruning at the wrong time of year, don't do it. Prune periods between about June 20th to July 20th, but it varies on each place that you're in the United States. This is for Pennsylvania. Of course, further south you are, the sooner it is, the further north it is, the later it is. But it's the right prune period for it, so A-okay for pruning. Next thing we're going to do is we're only going to prune this year's growth. We're not going to go back, we're not going to cut hard into it. This is cut, if you cut here, you cut too hard. If you cut here, you're fine. And that's because the buds for next year are only going to form on this year's growth. So if you cut it here and it's on last year's growth, buds won't form, and those buds are what's going to have new growth for next year. You need buds. That way, that means you have to prune only this year's growth. So we have our head shears. Some people use other things than this, but this is what I prefer. And we go in, just the first thing I'm going to do is just round the top off a little bit, just pruning this year's growth. That's it. And we're going to round it so that it's getting back into shape again, so that we can eventually sell it. Maybe not this year, most likely not this year. It might sell next year, maybe 2 years from now. But now we have a tree that's kind of shaped back into form again. And we're getting into something that we might be able to be sellable, not this year, of course, maybe next year, the year after. And then we just ever so slightly trim that right there. And we need to trim that, and that's because if you look at this guy here, I mean, I just take this off. If you look at it, all the buds are right there. And if you don't prune that, next year, all those are going to shoot out to be the new growth on it. If you prune it right here, the buds will develop up and down from here to there of new buds for next year, and it'll flush it out here. And then if you don't do that, see how that is? That's called a gooseneck. And that's what happens when you don't prune enough of it and you start developing that on the trees, then it's not as desirable, the grade is not as good. But if you get it so you don't see that gooseneck, and you got new shoots down through here coming back up, you have a higher grade tree that looks nicer with one central leader to it, and you're A-okay for pine trees.
Okay, now let's try this tree up here. It looks a little bit better, like it's in shape. What are you going to do with that tree?
Now this one's super easy. This is easy to do. This is of the scale. This is as easy as you're going to get for pine trees. So what I usually tell my guys is the thirds rule. So the top third, middle third, bottom third. The top third, you got to prune. If you prune anything, you got to prune the whole thing. So if you're pruning, we're going to keep our shape and we're going to knock it back a little bit. Only cutting this year's growth, that's it. Trim this just a little bit so that way you get rid of that whorl. You get buds develop, lean closer or down the shoot a little bit more and going in an angle. Each person has to determine their own angle, and there is, I guess, nursery standards, but most of the time most people don't follow them anyway. But you just try to make it so it's a nice looking tree with one leader. So the top, everything on the top gets pruned on that thirds rule. Then in the middle third, you prune only things that are sticking out. That's really not good. So you go through and just go real quick around. If you see any of them that's sticking out too far, prune them back, no big deal. And then the bottom third of white pines is the no cut place. You don't cut the bottom of the pines. The only reason you would cut the bottom of that pine is to suppose that this right here grew out to be that far out, and it's grotesque, it's out of place. You just can't mow around. It's going to get in the way of spraying, and it's going to be, when you dig the tree, it's going to get in the way. That's the only reason you cut the bottom third. So the bottom third doesn't get touched. Middle third, just touch just to keep it in the shape. And the top third, you got to trim everything.
Right. Now, Michael, how many of these trees are you going to be pruning here today?
Today? I don't know about today, but I know this field here has 1,800 white pines in it.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So
And you're located where, Mike?
we're located in Fountainville, Pennsylvania.
And you deliver and plant?
Yes, we do.
And how long have you been growing these trees, Mike?
Well, these trees are only about 4 years old, but I've been doing it since I was a little kid.
Okay. And where'd you go to school?
I went to Delaware Valley College, but now it's Delaware University, or Delaware Valley University.
Okay, and if people have a question for you, where can they call you and what number?
You can call me on my cell phone, but it has to be a real question. And my cell phone number is 267-446-2376.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We're here at Highland Hill Farm in Fountainville, PA in Bucks County. So just remember, give Mike a call at 267-446-2376.